Tashidele, and welcome to another episode from Snowlion Films in our series on prominent Tibetans from our community. We are in this beautiful room in Jamyang Buddhist Center. So thank you very much to the center for hosting us here. My guest today is Pemma, who is well known in our community for her decade-long service, voluntary service, in coaching Tibetan children and young adults in the fine art of public speaking. So welcome, Pamela.
Thank you, Deva.
Let's start with your family background first. I mean,
Okay.
your surname is British.
Yes.
And you have or had a Tibetan mother.
Yes.
And you were born in Tibet.
I was born in Lhasa, yes.
Lhasa. So that's very unique, because you probably were the first Anglo-Tibetan children born in Tibet. Can you tell us a bit about your parents? How
with my whole family. My father, Reginald Fox, went to Tibet with the British mission, but he ended up working for the Tibetans, and he went in 1936. He ended up working in His Holiness's office.
Yeah.
And he started the radio station AC4YN, which was a radio station that spoke to, at night he'd broadcast, and there'd be radio hams, before today's technology, radio hams from around the world would actually listen, and hear all about Tibet. Mm-hmm. And he gave the reports. And he met my mother.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is, my father spoke hardly any Tibetan, my mother spoke no English.
Exactly, yeah.
So I also think, how do they get together? And I think my father, she used to see him tap dancing, or he used to try to teach them tap dancing. Can you imagine?
Yes, in Lhasa.
In Lhasa.
So he must be mixing with the
yes,
high society, if you like.
Yes, he was.
Yeah. Okay.
And I don't know, my mother never ever told me, or that I never, unfortunately, as you do as a child, you don't ever think let me rephrase that. As a child, you think you've got all the time in the world with your parents.
Yeah.
When in actual fact you don't. And I always thought I will ask her one time, and I never did, and until it was too late after they'd both passed. And then I realized I never ever found out about their story. Because I just felt very special as a Tibetan child.
Yeah.
Basically, my father was the one that told the world the Chinese were coming.
Yeah, yeah.
On the radio. And when we left Tibet,
So when did you leave Tibet? 1950?
I left Tibet. I went down. I don't remember very much, because I was very, very young. And at the time we went down from Tibet, we went in baskets.
Yeah.
In one of the photographs there, I hope you see it, I'm on the back of a horse, and there were all the boats, made out of yak skin, etc.
Yes,
that was
coracles, yeah.
And we went on horseback, and the mule trains that went down, you could hear.
So you were leaving Tibet, because your father was expecting Chinese to come in with it?
Because it wasn't safe for us, and the other kids had gone down into school. We went to school in Kalimpong, which was Dr. Graham's homes down there.
Yes.
It was a school that was for Anglo-Indian children.
Yeah.
And we were the first Tibetans that went in.
So what are your early memories, of Lhasa or being in Tibet?
One of the all-encompassing feelings that I've had all my life, it was about the land.
Yeah.
It was being able to reach up to the sky, and you put your hand up there and you could almost touch the blue sky. You felt as though you were on the top of the world.
Wow.
And then when you were on this green earth, and you could look around for miles and miles and just feel the exquisiteness of Tibet inside. And this, for me, has really influenced all the work I've done in my life. I remember my mother taking me down to the school. We traveled together. And then when I was left there, I remember being delivered to the homes, what they call the homes. And my elder sister, and my brothers were already there. And I remember being handed over, and I was my little tuba, this little thing like this. And I was handed over, and I remember my mother, with her hair and all the apron.
Yeah.
And then she was told, I remember being handed over to this missionary type lady. And I saw this small bed, and she said, "This is Pamela's bed." I remember thinking, it can't be. My bed is somewhere else.
Yeah.
And then when I knew my mother was leaving me, I was hanging on behind her apron, like hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's interesting enough because after my mother passed, I still have that apron.
But now you are helping the Tibetan children, so much, and it's really amazing results. Because I remember one of the mothers said, the difference Pemma Fox made of my son is like between earth and sky.
Oh, bless.
Yeah,
and it wasn't me. It was the child. That child is meant to shine, to go forward. I'd just like to tell you how I got involved with the Tibetan community.
Yeah.
When Chiring Tashila was His Holiness's representative here, he got in touch with me. I can't remember. I think I might have approached, I'm not sure how, but I think, oh yes, Roger Croston, who's a Tibetologist, had got in touch with me because of my father. And he was looking for the last British residents. And he did an audience with His Holiness in Oxford. And then I went to the year after that. I met His Holiness there, and at that same year, it was 2008. I went to his teachings in Nottingham, and I was so touched. And when I went into the auditorium, and the feeling, even the level of the energy that His Holiness inspires, just by being himself. And what I want to say is just by being Tibetan. It was just, he inspired that so much. It's that intrinsic, it's the embracing, what I found, it was that mountain air. It's that feeling, it's that spaciousness. We were so lucky to be born in Tibet. I was so lucky to be born in Tibet that I had that. And I recognize this in all Tibetans. It's that essence we all have. And so when I heard His Holiness speak, and I saw the people around, and I saw the Westerners who were studying Tibetan, and I saw the Western lamas, etc. And if you take Pemma children, who's found, follows her. And I've known all along that and this might be quite a random thing for a lot of Tibetans, what happened to Tibet had to happen.
Yeah.
The Tibet had to happen, otherwise it would have imploded. That energy had to come out into the rest of the world to help the rest of the world for the bigger purpose. Because if you look around, look at all the people who are working for Tibet, all the societies, they're living their bigger purpose, and they wouldn't be living their bigger purpose if His Holiness hadn't had to flee out of Tibet. China is being given a huge opportunity now to rethink. And I will say this and I truly mean it. China operates on fear. And also, and I have to say this also, Tibetans also, if we only understood that one of the reasons for Chinese, one of their cultural part of their culture, they cannot be seen to lose face.
Yeah, yes, honor is everything for them.
That is that, and I say this with the greatest respect. That's what I've discovered. When I heard His Holiness speak up there, and when we had the audience with him, and I had the honor of standing opposite him and having his head beside me, and when he recognized me, I remember he was saying to me about my father, he says, your daughter? He's probably looking at this grey hair. I'm thinking, how can this be his daughter? So when I felt His Holiness there, standing beside me, and I touched, I had the honor of, when his
head touched,
the head touch. It felt natural. It just felt, and I'm not being disrespectful. It just felt I was Tibetan.
Yeah.
It was this grace. It was this feeling of, okay, now you can get on and do what you need to do. That was just the inspiration. It wasn't like this and get all dramatic and then I'm going to, not touch my thing. No. It was just a little bit of nudge. Okay, now you go do your work. That was the sort of feeling I got.
So is that how you're public speaking for the Tibetans?
Then I decided, like when we heard, and I thought, okay, His Holiness spoke about communication, about dialogue, and I tried my best, and I tried in my own way to maybe think, okay, I'd already done all my coaching qualifications, I'd done my leadership, and I decided I'd come down to the Tibetan community and maybe I could coach. This is my ego, the big ego here, okay? I'd come and coach the community. And when I came in and I attended one of the events, and I remember walking in and thinking to myself, when I saw the kids running around and I saw the community, etc., it was the most breathtakingly beautiful feeling, because there was so much chaos, but it was a peaceful chaos. I can't express it any other way. It was this warmth. It was this chaos of heart. It was this chaos of like the community, and then it was the kids running around. And when they say it takes a village to bring up a child.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. The
kids were running around, but it didn't matter whose kid it was. Yeah. Every Tibetan there responded, and it was men and women.
Yes.
It was just the pure warmth. And I don't want to say love or something, because that's kind of like I find that's a very samey Western thing. No, it was just an intrinsic being who you are in that. And it was that calmness. And I thought to myself, who am I to think that I'm going to be a coach for these people? They know who they are.
Okay.
They know. And I thought, and I thought, Pemma, get off get off that high horse. You're not going to save Tibet on your own this way. And then I, tried to get some of get the speaking, and I wanted to get the speaking groups together to have some dialogue between the West and maybe get some Chinese together. That was tough. I did have some experiences where there was resistance on both sides, and it has sort of created like a bottleneck situation where we each have our cultures, and I don't want to go into the politics of it. And then I thought, okay, where could I go? And I was at the stage of, feeling like really etc. And then I did a group where I thought, okay, let's do the community, etc. And then somehow or other, I think it was Shring Tashi's wife, Shring Tashi and his wife.
Oh.
I spoke to them, and when I was up at the Tibet house, and I was in the back having a cup of tea, his kids came in. And when they were that high, and I started to talk to them, and I just found these kids. This is. I just got this revelation. This is where I could start.
Yeah.
And I sort of asked Tashila. I said, Shri Tashila, I said, may I speak to your children? He said, yes. And I started to ask Rabgar questions, and the honesty that came out of these children. When I said, what would you like? What would you love your father to teach you? And it was, whoa, this is it. He said, I'd like to know about Tibet, but not all the angry bits.
Oh,
this
really?
is a child. Wow. And then I sort of had this thought, when I was a child, as I was growing up, I learned about Tibet, and it was about, this is your thing, and this is that happened, and you were taken over, etc. And I said, what if we were to learn? What if the child could actually learn from their parent something that intrinsically was about the heritage, but didn't have to be about the war. It didn't have to be that we have taken back. It didn't have to be about politics. And I had an opportunity to go, and this is going sideways here. I got invited to a Lhasa evening at the Chinese embassy because of contacts, etc. Yeah. And I did go in, and I sat beside the 15-year-old son. I think he was 15 years old. No, he was younger than that, and his mother, who was made the first secretary of the Chinese embassy. And I sat beside him, and this child was going to war. This child was a general before he'd even started, because that's what's brought up. That's how he's been brought up.
Yeah.
And when I actually did, it's already formed in the child by the influences at home.
Yes.
So maybe the children don't have an opportunity to exactly express themselves to see who they are. And the beauty I found that when I started to work with the children was they came as themselves, completely untainted. It was, like when we are born, we all make this scream in the world. We make this yell. We proclaim, yeah, I've arrived.
We've come,
etc.
Yeah.
Look at me. And then the parents, they think this is the most precious diamond. And, and we should treat them like diamonds, as they're growing up. And I've watched some of the kids, what they say to me. I mean, they keep me in order. So like Samfala's, his child, and there's all the other children, they've taught me so much as I've given them. They've taught me about how it is to be young again, and how it is to teach from a place of simplicity, and how to teach from a place of fun. I did a workshop in Detroit once after a leadership group, and I did it on the Picasso state. It takes one a long time to become young. And these Tibetan kids taught me that. Then when I see them progress onto, and they've got to go and do their A+ or, going on whatever,
grades,
I see that exquisite essence, that impeccable spirit knocked out of them. I just see it, the edges are coming off when they've just lost it. And the diamond in them is just becoming a little bit shaded. There's not that much
brilliance.
Yeah, it's just the shadows are coming in.
But do you think that's inevitable, because we have to live
that is about, because of they're being exposed to outside influences, the internet, the global thing, because the world is so small now.
Yeah.
And I think that if we can teach children to be themselves at that age where they can express themselves and be there for them, they will actually learn to shine. And I'm not just saying it because he's here, but Vincent La's child. He is the most perfect example of having the infinite love and patience, because I've seen the challenges this child had when he first came to the class. He was different to the others. And now he actually oozes this love and oozes this expression of such serenity and simplicity that the other kids actually pick that up from him.
From your work, and how do you get the best out of a child?
To get the best out of the child is to allow them to be themselves, to express themselves the way they are, not to shut them down. Always allow them to have an opinion.
Whatever it is.
Whatever it is. And then if you need to give feedback, give the child a lovely commendation. Oh, I just loved how you said that, and I loved what you did. However, a little recommendation is like, maybe next time you do it, try doing it a different way. And then at the end, maybe you could do it better. Maybe instead of jumping on the sheet, on the seat, maybe sit down, let somebody else speak. And then afterwards just say, however, I love the fact that you were willing to get up and speak. So you do it like a sandwich. You do a comment, a recommendation, and a comment. Whatever you do, don't say comment, critic, comment. Because I've seen public speaking people do that, where they comment, they give a commendation, and then they say, now the only criticism I have, as soon as you use the word criticism, whap, slam down. It negates everything after that. And then at the end you say, and the commendation I have, which you did really well. So it's like what you did well, what you could improve on, and you explain to them why and what you could do better. Instead of, be quiet, don't interrupt your sister, don't do that, sort of be quiet. Because what we're actually doing is telling them that they can't be excited enough, they can't be good enough, but then also they can't be sad. So, stop sulking, etc., etc. And I've seen it happen, even in the class with the parents.
Yes.
They don't realize. So it is that ability to actually engage, to come down to the level of the child, to speak to the child as if you're speaking at their level, so that, you never ever treat them as if you're speaking down on them, so that they get the confidence to know that they speak to every person as if they're speaking to another human being. And that's the intrinsic.
We're talking about small kids here, but what about you also, do voluntary workshops for Global Tibetan Professional Network? It's quite a mouthful. Those are like young adults, so how they different?
That's an interesting thing. I did something there, and the kids who came were I take that back. The teenagers who came were about 12, 13, a few of them. The Tibetans don't take enough advantage of what is being offered to them. And I worry that the Tibetans feel, and this is not a criticism, I understand that we've been led to believe that we will have things done for us. And Tibetans also, we've been suppressed enough to think that we have to stay low key. And I also know that it's that speaking up and expressing ourselves gets us noticed, which is always not the best thing, especially if we're worried about other situations.
Yeah.
However, it's the ability to now teach the young adults to live their best life and be the best Tibetan they can be in today's world. Not thinking about the wars, not thinking that they've got to be an activist, not thinking of that. It is how can they be the best? Because I guarantee you every Tibetan has an intrinsic fountain of beauty and wellness. The Buddhism is just ingrained in you. It's Tibet, the land. It's no longer ours in the way that we would like to think it. It's no longer free as a lot of Tibetans know it. However, it's free if we keep it inside of all of us. If that has to be our Buddha, that has to be it. To be proud to be a Tibetan, to have the strength to go forward, be our best, and learn that quality to take forward. And I worry also that maybe parents are living, and I say this with the greatest respect, that maybe parents are living their own path through their children, giving everything that they never had to their children. The parents are sacrificing so much to have the community be sustained. And I wonder, like even in the new committees coming up, what if the younger generation can actually express how they would like the committees to be now? Because it is today, in today's world. It is the Tibet of today. How can they express that? And then just have the mentorship and the guidance of the Tibetans from long-standing come in.
Well, Pemma Foxler, it's been an absolute pleasure hearing your story. Thank you so much for coming here and talk to us.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.